Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm very sorry for late upload of video. Let's get started. Today I'm going to discuss another interview questions answer session which was at the second round of interview of Power BI data analyst, and this was basically a round with client which was a manufacturing company. So the first question is introduce yourself. You all of you know that this is the obvious questions for the every interview. I'm going to create a separate video for these questions. Let's go to the second questions. What is the difference between calculated column and calculated measure? Which is better? So here we are going to discuss few features. The features first point is storage. So in case of storage, in storage perspective, calculated column stored in the model uses memory. So it is physically it is stored. So that's why it reserves some memory. Okay, but in case of measure, it is not stored. It is calculated on the fly. Next, row context. Calculated column is basically row context, whereas measure is filter context. Next, uses in slicers. So we all know that we can use column in the slicers. We use any type of column in the slicer. So calculated column is basically calculated column which is physically stored in the memory. So we can use in the slicers. But in case of measure, we cannot put in the slicers. Next, performance. Slower if it is overused, because we know that it stores some, it takes some memory space. That's why it will be slower if we do overuse. Next, but in case of measure, it is more optimized. When to use iterator functions? In DAX, iterators are functions that evaluate an expression for every row of a table and then aggregate the result. These functions are called iterators because the functions iterate over each row of a table. Example, we know that average x, sum x, count x, all these type of functions are iterator functions. So basically in case of iterator functions, we say that only when it is required, then you should go for iterator functions. Otherwise, you should not go for iterator functions because performance wise, iterator function is slower. Next, what is data hub feature in Power BI? So this feature enables users to easily discover and reuse data in one central hub. Basically, data hub is one central hub, centralized hub. The data hub is a centralized experience that empowers users by enabling them to calculate, publish, discover, and reuse organizational data sets and address their business questions either in Power BI or in the form of Excel. Next, they displayed SQL queries and output. The desired output was not achieved. Instead, one column had mostly null values. What are the steps to debug? So their questions was what are the steps to debug? Here basically, as much as I understood that here they want to know that how to handle null values in SQL. So one function is their coalesce function that is used to replace null values in SQL. So your answer should be like this. Next, what are the techniques you follow to ensure that your report is of good quality? So many points or many things we consider. So here I am going to discuss few of them. First is reducing unnecessary rows and columns from the data model. Instead of calculated column, create calculated measure wherever is possible. Next, don't create many visuals in a single page. Within a single page, you should not create many visuals. It will make your report slower to render. Try to follow star schema. Avoid bidirectional cross filter. Use default visuals instead of custom visuals. Only use certified custom visuals. So default visuals are always faster than custom visuals. Again, within custom visuals, we should always go for certified one. Okay. Next, how do you improve the performance of a Power BI report? I have 2.5 GB data and want to go with import mode only. What to do? First thing, Power BI has its own compression engine, which is Bhatipak engine. It will compress the data set. Apart from that, what we do is remove unnecessary columns, remove unnecessary records, avoid date time data type. How we can handle this date time data type? Split it into date and time separately. It will reduce the size. You can experiment this thing. You can check this in Power Query. try to use appropriate data type. Whenever appropriate data type is not mentioned, then you should do that. Do you know any forecasting techniques used in Power BI? Yes, in line chart we have this feature. So those who don't know this, I'm showing you. See here, I have taken one sample data set. I have drawn one line chart. You can see this is the line chart. Okay, so in our data set only 2 years data is available. That's why it is coming like this. This is 2013 and 2014 data is there. Now you just go to this tab. Okay, analysis pane. In the analysis pane, here you can see, right, forecast option is there. Now you have to turn it on. Let's turn it on. When you will turn it on, it will show you. So up to this point, this is your actual. After that, it is showing your forecast part. So it will be this is your forecast part. Okay. Now next, what are joins in SQL? Explain with example. Joining of two tables based on one common column. So here I have taken one example, that order table and customer table. Okay, now I want to see the customer names and city who has placed order today. So customer name and city I can retrieve from customer table, but order date is there in the order table. That means I have to join these two tables, order table and customer table. So in this situation I have to go for join. So here the common column is this one, customer ID and ID. So this is the common field. Based on this common field we can do joining. So ID in the customer table and customer ID in the order table is the common field. So based on this common field we'll do the joining. Okay. Next, few SQL scenario based questions. Those are not mentioned over here. Next, I have a blank value in a slicer. What's your approach? Okay, so it can happen due to multiple reasons. One reason is the field which are used in the slicer that is having blank values which has not been replaced. Okay, so those can be filtered out using filter in Power BI desktop. Another reason can be few fields are there, that field is there in the dimension table but that is not present in the fact table. That could be one reason. So in that case just go to relationship, apply cross filter as both direction. So in this way we handle this type of issues. Next, what is the difference between where and having clause? So we know that where we use when we restrict some rows. Okay, but in case of having, where we use, where having we usually use on group by. Okay, so filter in where clause filter rows before any grouping or aggregation happens. So this is one example I have taken. Okay, that select all the employee details where the department is sales. Now having clause, what does it do? Have filter groups after aggregation. That means after aggregation or group by is applied, then can aggregate functions. So this is the another example of having, that select department count star as employee count from employees table, group by department having count is greater than 10. Okay, now see the feature wise difference. So what first feature applies to? Where applies to rows, individual records. Where is applied to individual records. Having is applied to groups. Where used with select, update and delete. Having used with group by. Aggregate, where cannot use aggregate functions. Okay, having can use aggregate functions. Order, executed before grouping. Where is always executed before grouping. Having always executed after grouping. Okay, so these are the important differences you should know and you should experiment this thing in SQL. Next, what is the alternative to group by function of group by of SQL in Power BI? So in Power BI we are having summarize function, summarize DAX function. Do you know the M code? M code is basically MASAP language or M language. Power Query is written using M language. Give me a situation where you have modified the M code to achieve the desired result. To change the path of a data source, I have used M code. So for example, we have developed the report on some sample data set. Now, at the time of deployment, we need to mention the actual data set, means actual path of the data set. So in that case we have used or we have modified the M code. I mentioned some next questions. I mentioned some quantifiable achievements in my resume. They asked me about those. Okay, next, what are the steps you take once you receive the BRD? What is your approach? So once we get the business requirement document, then we try to reach out to certain teams, especially data engineers and business analysts. In case you are not given BRD, what you will do? So in case then what we have to do, we have to collect the requirements after having discussions with the clients and the concerned person, and we need to create a sample BRD itself. We need to understand what actually they are looking for. In that way we need to create the BRD. Okay, next, do you like to be briefed about the outline of the expected report, or you prefer to work freestyle? So like to be briefed, because client may have certain logo, they might like some color styles, so they will have some special requirements. In this case chances of change request will be less, so I will always prefer to be briefed. Okay, so that's all for this interview answer session. If you like this video, please do like, share and subscribe and keep watching. Okay, I'll come with another video very soon. Thank you. Bye bye.